Hey folks, thanks for joining me if you're here early for the live broadcast of the show. I've got my guest John Kaiser all teed up. We're ready to go here, and I'm just in the final stages of setting everything up so that it's live on my website. If you just give me about 30 more seconds, I'll have everything live on my website, and we will be ready to roll. John and I have a really exciting show today. Again, it's another one in our series of what we call the zombie stock search and rescue mission. This is our third edition, and we've found some good ones out of the early shows, and we're hopeful to find some more in the new ones. We have a new letter for everybody today. It's still in the cone of silence. That's John's honor to introduce that once we get live with the actual show, which we're only about maybe another 10 to 20 seconds, and we will be live. So just bear with me. We should be live here on my website. We're live on the back end with... put it in the wrong spot. It'll work. All right, so we're live now, and I will be on my website, I'm sure. There it is. So I can start the show. Just give me a second. Hello, everybody. It's Alan Barry Laboucan, the founder of the Alan Barry Reports, and today we've got another one of the collaboration between John Kaiser and myself. John is the founder of the Kaiser Research Online. Anybody that's been in the business of mining for a number of years will know who John Kaiser is. John is proof is in the pudding. We've had him on a bunch of shows, and he's been exceptional at helping us find some really good picks. So, John Kaiser, thank you very much for joining us.
Alan, thank you.
We're going to be John's in the late stages here of tuning up for to get ready for the zombie picks. So here's what we're going to do. We'll start with my website sponsorship messages. Then we'll get rolling with the actual show. And John will have everything teed up on his end by then.
Ready when you are.
First thing I wanted to point out is that I highlighted a link to ceo.ca in the description of this show. I will be there after the show to talk about the show. I spend a lot of time. It's one of the best websites for people that want to follow the mining space, and I encourage you to check it out, and I'll be there to talk about the zombies after the show. My website sponsors include Premier Gold Mines. Premier's a gold-focused company with an enviable portfolio of projects in Ontario and Nevada, partners like Barrick, Centerra, Goldcorp. You can find out more about them at premiergoldmines.com to do your homework. Another sponsor is Sirius Resources. I don't know if I gave you the symbol. The symbol on Premier Gold is PG on the Toronto Exchange. Sorry about that. The next one is Sirius Resources. Sirius symbol is SOI. They trade on the Venture Exchange. They're also a gold-focused company, and they're drilling their high-grade gold project it's called the Chichu project in Quebec. It's located right next door to Goldcorp's Eleanor Gold Mine. You can learn more about their efforts at Sirios.com. That's SIRIOS.com. West Red Lake Gold Mines is another of my sponsors. They trade on the Canadian Securities Exchange with the symbol RLG. They are a gold-focused company. They're drilling a high-grade gold target. It's called the Hinge Zone in Red Lake. Their partners, Goldcorp. West Red Lake Gold Mines has 60%. Goldcorp has 40%. They're chasing this a classic Red Lake target. You can find out more about them at westredlakegold.com. And the final sponsor is Wolfden Resources. They're a base metals focused company with the discovery of high-grade nickel and copper, cobalt near Snow Lake, Manitoba. You can find out more about them at wolfdenresources.com. So I got all my business out of the way. John, are you ready for the zombie search and rescue mission number 3?
Yes, and the letter is L.
The letter is L. There we go. The first time it's been made public.
So those of you who want to follow it, you want to go to the KRO Click search engine, expand all, select the first 2 in the parameters, special parameters, including only listed and trading companies and resource companies.
Hey, John, while you're doing that, and I'm on the
Oh,
search.
you can see it. Okay, perfect.
So what I'm going to do is I'm physically going to go and see. John gave me 2 first parameters there. What I've done is the first one I just click on. The second one I hit Control and just hit the cursor. Boom. What's the next parameter, John? Oh,
So
there
you
it
go
is.
down to price range.
We only want one price, less than 10 cents.
Yep, only the drags. And then down to working capital and, negative million to positive 199,000. Select those 4.
So I'm just going to show people how easy this is, John. I click that one, hit Control, bang, 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 bang. Oh, one too many. There we go. Now the next step is
Go down to the project priority and unclick all those properties.
So originally this is all clicked. I had actually clicked these off. So when you come to this page, normally all these tick signs are there. So you just go bang, bang, bang. That's done. And submit search, right, John?
Yep.
Boom. So I've already done this. And
but you're not logged in. You got to log in first.
Uh-oh. Well, I actually logged in over here. So I have them all right here, John.
Oh, okay.
First one is Lakeside Minerals.
Yeah, it seems to be a quirk of the system that if you're logged in on one tab in your Firefox or whatever you're using, and then you go on another one, you have to log in again.
Yeah.
But not if that window is spawned from the window where you are logged in.
Well, I got us Lakeside Minerals here, John. It's got a working capital deficiency of 400 grand, issued 24 million shares, diluted 33. Peter Bibdo is the CEO. What I'm seeing right off the bat, John, just off of that is I like that they don't have a lot of stock out. They do have a lot of deficiencies on the working capital, and I see in the right corner there their stock has been showing some life lately. So those are sort of the when I pull these up, those are sort of the first things I look at.
Yeah, so one of the things that strikes me is in that synopsis, it says that on July 6th that was moved to the NEX board. So that activity in the last few days is kind of interesting. Are people celebrating that this worthless company is being declared inactive? This company is an absolute disgrace. You just look at the history of it. This is the kind of company that should never exist. Comes on board as some sort of a non-resource company in 2002. Decides accomplishes nothing. Decides to go switch into the resource sector. Does a 5-for-1 rollback. Acquires some company with projects in Quebec. Fools around with that for a little while. And then do another 4-for-1 rollback two years later, and they bail out 2 CPCs, one by simply merging with it and its treasury, and the other one does a private placement in it where they buy Lakeside stock, and then they distribute the stock and dissolve themselves. This is part of this TSX venture plague of capital pools and these companies not having any major transaction to do that allows them to continue existing beyond the 18-month deadline. And then these guys
but John, there was no other reason other than to just save them? They didn't have, these other CPCs didn't have any cash in them or nothing?
No, they did have cash with them. If they don't have cash, you just let them die. So
okay.
There was some sort of connection between the Lakeside people and these other surplus shells for which they couldn't really find a project. So they basically liquidated the CPCs by merging them into the company that was a real one. And that, of course, qualifies as a major transaction which
Are
is
you
like
serious?
stupid.
I thought they had to have like a real qualifying transaction, John. You mean saving a CPC is now a qualifying transaction?
Yes, yes, it eliminates the CPC and gets rid of another embarrassment for the venture exchange. You know, it's lousy policy. By the way, it still dumbfounds me. These worthless brokerage firms keep churning out more capital pools. What do we need them for? Why do we need fresh capital pools?
To roll it into something like this. You know what it is, John? They got to kind of force them somehow to have to do a deal. I had a tech company I was thinking about launching, and I was looking for some shells, and there's a bunch of them around, but everybody, they want the moon for it, and it's because they can just continue to exist on fumes and wait around forever until something decent comes up, when I was actually trying to bring them a real deal and do a fair deal with the existing guys.
Yeah, so, but no, I note in here that this company tried to acquire a quite interesting project, and I have some familiar with it.
Which one's that?
This was, I guess, in last year. They were going to acquire from PDAC the Misery Lake project, which is a rare earth prospect. I actually visited it in, I think, 2010.
Scandium. It's got some scandium.
So what it was is it's this big, it shows up in the geophysics as this big ring structure, magnetic ring structure. So they figured it's some sort of intrusion, and it turns out it's one of those cyanide bodies similar to Strange Lake, and sure enough, it has rare earths in it. But the rare earths are low grade; they're not skewed towards the heavies the way Strange Lake was. But they ended up doing a boulder chasing exercise where they had these, rare earth enriched boulders, and they traced it back to an outcropping area and drilled it. And they got these really interesting, pretty long scandium assays. It was only 150 ppm, and I think they reported in scandium oxide, which is cheating because that's about 154% higher than scandium assays. But they were significant lengths, and it was associated with a series of dikes, late-stage dikes that cut through this intrusive complex. And and my thinking was, well, you lucked out by just where it was exposed. You drilled it there. You've not done anything to find out where this stuff fractionated and enriched in the best. So there's all these dikes now within this system deserve to be explored, because there could be a significant scandium resource here at better grades than what they recovered.
What did these guys do with the project?
Well, Peter Cashin was the CEO of Quest, and Quest had a good run during the rare earth boom. Spent a lot of money on different scenarios for
the project. Sounds interesting to me, John. What did Lakeside? Did they drop it? I don't know their current.
Well, here's sort of the appalling story. When they decided to fire Peter Cashin, as part of his severance package, they gave him the Misery Lake property. And I think a couple $1 million had been spent on this, and these scandium results were interesting. So as a Quest shareholder, I would have been much more intrigued to have that project stay within Quest. But anyways, it is what it is, and
so
Peter got this project.
Two strikes against them. Not only do they not sound like they know how to run a company, they don't sound like they know how to run a exploration project either.
Well, no, Peter's now private, and he's not. He started in his numbered company. He tried to vend it to this company. It's kind of a terrible shell, and in the end, he wanted 21 million shares for this project, and then he hoped other people would finance it, and everybody kind of gave it a big thumbs down. So they pulled the plug on this deal, and as far as I know, he's still running around trying to find somebody to bankroll the Misery Lake project. And the scandium boom is not quite here, but I think within a year we're going to see a growing appetite for scandium projects, especially ones that could end up having a higher grade and large tonnage. The Australian ones are going to be the baseload suppliers because they have 400 ppm and they're going to be able to produce for many decades. but the world demand's going to grow substantially bigger. So there is an exploration boom coming, and wherever this Misery Lake project ends up, that's going to be something where one should pay attention, so long as it isn't just skewed to make Peter super well off and nobody else.
Well, I'll definitely be watching for that, John, because I'm wrapping my head around this Scandium story really rapidly. I recently did some homework and had a chat with some people that they made some comments that might as well ask you now. What do you think about the other sources other than the Australians? I've asked you this before. What separates those sources from other sources? Like I heard names that Sweden or Finland, something like that, where there's sources. What's the difference, John? And what makes Australia and what you're looking at different and better?
Well, the Australian deposits are started off as big ultramafic systems, and they underwent laterization, and the Scandium somehow got mobilized out of its 21 background ppm grade and concentrated, up to 400 ppm. And it's like these big pancakes sitting there, maybe under, 5 meters of dirt. So you just scrape the dirt away and scoop this stuff up and put it into your process plant. And there's other ultramafic bodies in the world.
So the grade, and it's right there. The ones that these other guys brought up were as a result of as an offtake of other production of I forget the mineral they were talking about, but they said this is like a byproduct, and in the others it had uranium of some sort in it as well. You know what I'm talking about, John?
Yeah, uranium deposits will have a better than background level of scandium in them. Other sort of carbonatites, for example, Mark Smith's Elk Creek in Nebraska has about 70 ppm. So these large bodies, unless they've undergone some special transformation that enriched the scandium grade, they're not going to be worth developing. If you've got a key metal like nickel in there, and you can get the scandium out after you get the nickel out, such as they've tried with other deposits in Australia, that would work. But a lot of these projects, you can only get the scandium out if you get it out first. And if it is the minor byproduct of the mining plan, you're not going to sit there and have this long residence time while your bread and butter are swirling around, no cash coming out while you try and tease out the scandium. So a lot of these deposits are not interesting.
And they're not really scandium mines.
No, even though they could have a good byproduct credit, it's how it comes out in the flow sheet. That's the key. If it comes out last, that's great. You divert the solutions, the pregnant liquors out of which you've stripped the main stuff. You divert them into another circuit and let it go around in circles until the scandium drops out. The boom that I think is coming is going to go more after dike-like bodies, pegmatites and so on, these slow cooling systems where they grow quick crystals, and you get separation of the different elements within the system. And that's why in Norway, there's the Tortle project that Scandium International has, which has 1,000 ppm plus grades for scandium. The problem with these things is that they're irregular, and the scandium's tied up in some mineral, so you have to figure out how to crack it and get it out of the mineral. But once scandium is something that everybody wants, there's going to be demand for additional supply sources,
but
and
certainly not with 5 meters of cover and as much as you could need, as a significant amount, and a known source where those end users are going to know they have to get it from.
Yeah, so, okay. But it's already happening. People are starting to go through the archives and find references to high-grade scandium. But there was one company that was beating the drums about 30 ppm scandium. And I say, are you insane? This is like just a little bit better than background. And and it was quite embarrassing to watch this company trumpet its new Scandium play.
Well, John, I'm glad you always are very good at getting people to be knowledgeable about those kind of promotion stories. So I really appreciate that. Let's get back to the zombie. In this case, Lakeside's not going to be a Scandium company. They look really crummy to me. The only recent action has been looking like a couple of crosses. I think I know what I'm going to vote on this Lakeside Minerals, John.
Yeah, I know what I'm voting. I'm a no. This is just
thumbs down from me.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to Lamely Iron Ore. 98 million shares diluted, fully diluted. Hubert Vallée is the CEO. They've got a modest working capital deficiency of 51 grand. Has had some action in the stock in the past, about 2 years ago. Now has been turned into a flatliner. What's the story on this one, John?
Well, I think they jumped onto the iron bandwagon that was going in 2010 to 2012 when iron was over 100 bucks a ton. And all those northern Quebec, Labrador deposits. I mean, remember, Cliffs paid $5 billion to buy out the Bloom Lake project. Yep. And that eventually blew up Cliffs when some a hedge fund ended up buying a lot of that, and the iron market started falling apart and so on. And of course, all these projects, they're all dead again. I mean, with iron was as low as $35. It's now back to $50, so it's not clear that that's sustainable, because there has been this crazy stuff going on in China where speculators are buying futures in these various metals, and these metals are being like irrationally cranked up, sort of completely out of sync with supply and demand. So these guys, of interesting companies, FanCamp, it's been around forever. The late Pat Sheridan was a big shareholder. Peter Smith has been the CEO forever. These guys accumulate all these forgotten deposits and patiently hold them, and they vended this into Lamely for 43 million shares, and they even did a PEA. And you can see by the rough numbers, they using $80 base case price. The capex is.
So hold on, John. They vended it in, and I saw here that insiders own 50% of the. So the insiders are all the guys who brought in the FanCamp. Is that what happened?
That's largely FanCamp's 43 million share position, and so I think a month ago or so they decided to give the project back to FanCamp because they needed to make some $40,000 payment, and the deposit obviously is going to be worthless for a long time because Australia has just killed the iron market. They put so much new low-cost iron into production, Rio Tinto and BHP, and these guys, they don't care about these higher cost projects elsewhere. They're going to keep producing even if demand slackens. So the iron bubble is completely dead and gone. So
they gave it back.
Yeah, so it'll drop to what, about 58 million shares, 50 million shares out, something like that after that. But look, they're doing a 10-for-1 rollback.
Ooh.
So, and they just issued 9 million shares to acquire some other Quebec project, another property of merit placeholder. So I don't know what people are.
For me, it's usually an easy answer to say thumbs down for when they're going through a 10-for-1 rollback. But I also want to go back and review this after they do the 10-for-1 rollback, because they'll still have 50% insider holding. And does this Meston Lake West project, has it got any potential, John?
I don't know. I'd have to look at it.
Because it seems like that's all they got, or they'll have to. I mean, with 45 million. Oh no, they'll only have 10 million shares out fully.
The only person there that's sort of connected to the company is Jean Depatie, who's sort of a pretty good guy. I think he used to be ex-Cambio or something like that. But these other people that are in charge, I don't have any hits on my people tree.
Yeah, I was getting there myself. I got there. It is. Cheap Departing. No. Yeah, John, I'm going to stick with my thumbs down.
It's a no.
Yeah, I'll stick with thumbs down on that one. Okay, so we've got two now. Oh, I forgot to put some times down here. I'm trying to keep track of these. So now we're on to Lorion Minerals. Lorion Minerals has 114 million shares out, working capital deficiency of 343 grand. It has been sort of showing a bit of life in the last 4 or 5 months. What's the story on this one, John?
Well, this is actually an ancient company, and Davidson Tisdale Mines, back from 1945. I think it probably was on the Coates system before it moved to the Venture Exchange. It went through a bad phase in 2002 when it changed its name to Northcott Gold, and the CEO Robert Northcott ended up being accused of having issued paper without proper authorization, and contractors didn't get paid, and then there was some sort of push to get rid of him. I guess they did get rid of him. That whole period, 2003, 2005, was kind of a transition period for the company, and that's when Cynthia LeSueur-Aquin became president, along with Michael Bourassa as a secretary. And the current board, when you look at it, it's a pretty impressive board. Joe Campbell, who's got that Terra X project up near Yellowknife, he's with this company, and they have not since at least 2002 done any rollbacks. So that's kind of amazing when you consider how many rollbacks people have gone through. Oh yeah, I see you've got this. Yeah, this is a pretty good crew of people. So they don't own any paper, like 1.7%. So the question is, for whom are they actually working with regard to this company?
I was just seeing if they have the one of our good indicators is a presentation.
I think there is one.
Maybe investors. There it is. An updated one too. PDF from the 2016 PDAC.
Yeah, by the way, just as a tip, companies often stash their corporate presentations under the section called Investors.
Yeah, I see that. Ishko Day. That's a cool name. Where does that come from, John?
Well, this project used to be called Sturgeon River, and they were chasing high-grade gold veins, and now they think it's also got VMS base metal potential. And of course, they're stretching that to say maybe we even have Laurent type systems, which are like VMS systems with a very significant gold component. So this group is sensitive to First Nation issues, and I guess there's a number of groups in the area of this project. And so they did some consultation a number of years ago, and they came up with Ishko Day, which is, I guess, some native language word or whatever.
Ontario, it's likely pretty good chance it could be Cree, I think. Maybe that's why I was able to say it right away, John. That could be my father could speak Cree, so that might be why. It's a nice name. I guess that means Sturgeon River.
So look at this here. I mean, they've got a pretty good presentation, a lot of graphics and that. And I even have a slide in here called long-term plan and objectives. So this is what I like to see in a company. Even if they've got no money, they have a wish list that if they got money, here is what we would do.
40,000 meters of drilling is one thing. That's pretty interesting. I'm looking at the mag map here, I think. Mag, yeah. So you've got some structures there. You have some cross-cutting there. These must be all the old workings along that one. Is that old workings along that structure, John?
I believe this is a former producer. They even have some tailings piles.
Or could that be a river? No, that's not a river.
Sitting on the project.
You sure got a consistent trend of the structures there, John? And then you've got some breaks and some big mag targets there too. Huh, interesting.
Yeah, well, when you flick through, you can see all kinds of interesting stuff. So this is
So here's a cross section I got up of their VMS project. You see it, John?
Yeah. Now I'm not sure. Is that a cross section? I don't think that's a cross section.
Or is it a plan? What is it?
I think it's a plan view.
Oh, stripped area. Yeah, that would be a planned area. Okay, so
those are the sort of drill holes angled through it.
Okay, I gotcha. So they hit a half a gram, 0.45 gold, 27 an ounce of silver, 0.94% copper, 3.91% zinc, but only over 4 meters.
Now I myself, looking at this stuff, all of this is just gobbledygook to me. My next stage would be to actually get in contact with management and probably spend an hour on the phone going through this presentation while they explain everything and answer my questions. What does this mean? And
Good
what
stuff, John. That, you know, you're a sharp guy when it comes to those questions, John. But even I would advise even investors that aren't as knowledgeable, just going through and asking questions about these things to tell them, I don't know much about geology. What can you explain to me about this so I can better understand it?
And you know what, a very important question to ask sort of right up front is, okay, this project's been around for a while. Why has it not yielded something substantial that's currently in production? And what are you seeing here that would change the fact that there's nothing here but a whole bunch of information and no mine? So I'm always looking for a hook, an angle of what they see differently, and just, you know, superficially looking at this, they're recognizing this VMS dimension to this project, whereas the focus in the past seems to have all been on the high grade gold.
So, I can tell you one thing, John. When I'm looking at these as potential candidates for saving, I really like to see that. I just sort of get a sense, is somebody home or not, and do they care? When you see a presentation like this that, you know, they've broken everything down for you, it's all up to date. You know, even though they may be a zombie, considered a zombie, they're there. They're trying to do something for the shareholders. If they're not there, usually it's an easy thumbs down for me.
So now the stock is trading at a penny. Insiders don't seem to own any shares. So one of the first things I will do, I don't know the people at all, so I would sort of call them and just ask them, okay, what are you going to do with this? Who still cares about this company? Obviously, you don't care about it for your salaries, because all you can do is accrue them and not actually collect anything. So is this thing going to be rolled back and refinanced? Is it perhaps going to be absorbed by somebody else for 6 cents, in which case a 6-bagger from a penny, I'll take that sort of thing. So I'm leaning towards saying that, yes, this is a rescue target. There's just too much interesting stuff here, too much evidence these people care about this company. What's missing is, well, how do they benefit from, doing anything productive with the company?
I'm with you, John. I this one's easy. I'm ready to give this one a thumbs up. I like what I see here. I like that these people are there, that they're working. They were at the PDAC, so they want to tell their story as hard as they can. They got it up to date, nice presentation. You can see that they've done serious work on their projects, and they're trying to compile a story here. I give it a thumbs up.
All right.
So Lorion is a thumbs up. Perfect. Now we'll move to Lomiko Metals. Lomiko Metals has 161 million shares out, 145 grand of negative working capital, pretty much been a flatliner with a few promotional moves along the way. I got to say, John, I was part of being pitched during those promotional moves, and each time I dodged this one. It's run by Paul Gill. Do you know anything that should give me a reason to want to like this one?
This is a classic Vancouver ambulance chaser company. What is the flavor of the month? It's interesting is the chart goes back to about 2008, and they'd done a bunch of rollbacks before that. And then they decide to split the stock 4-for-1. And then you look at the history since then. There's another rollback in there. This company has been on forever. No matter what they do, they just churn. They chase after this story and that story. It looks like they got into the first lithium bubble.
Like you said, John, it's a classic flavor of the month play, and that's why I could never take it seriously. One time they were talking about, what was it, rare earths, I think, and then next time they're talking to me about another mineral and another, and graphite. That's what it was, graphite, and then lithium.
Well,
But
I think
they're
they've given up on
down in
lithium.
Chile.
But they're into battery technology, all the hype about it, and then they got into like graphene, and then they supposedly have these relationships with private companies that are R&D companies, and they give them some money and get an interest in it. And
there's some angle on the graphene about purity. I think I remember that pitch too, vaguely.
Yeah, and the linkage between graphene and natural graphite deposits is a bit bogus, because graphene needs a very high purity graphite, and so it's better, or carbon, and it's better to get that from synthetic graphite than from some deposit that will have all kinds of impurities that even at 99.99% 4 nines is still a problem. So, and also that the large flake part is not really necessary for creating the graphene structure. So that was kind of a bogus linkage in the past 5 years, where all the hype about graphene got mapped to graphite. The large flake graphite is very important for the batteries for electric cars and hybrids. There's no doubt about that. And China is the dominant producer at 85%. And if we ever get out of sorts with China, we're going to have to mobilize all these deposits here in North America and elsewhere to get our graphite. But I don't know, this company, 155 million shares out, no real speculation cycles, even when they leapt onto the latest bandwagon. Lots of money raised. Obviously, it was spent. You see those little dollar signs?
Those are each of the financings? Those are each of the financings, those little dollar signs where my cursor is?
Yes, when you go into the, click the profile, you can actually see what price and how much it was done at, if it was a venture listing, listed company. Yeah, scroll down beneath those charts and you'll see all the different prices. Looks like they did a short offering memorandum. A financing that was actually free trading right away. Managed to raise about $3 million back in 2014. So I guess that's all gone already. This is, and then Paul Gill, at least he owns 5.5 million shares, but none of the other people on the board do.
You know, and I got to say, Paul is an energetic guy, and he works hard. He calls me up, he's trying to, but he just, he's got to avoid that flavor of the month he's been branded with, and try to get more serious and, roll up your sleeves into something and not do the technique or, the flavor of the month. With 161 million shares out, and doesn't look like a zombie that's ready to be rescued to me, John.
Look, if you scroll down, you can see all the brokers that backed this company in the different years. What I would do is when the Venture Exchange published the private placement approvals, they used to publish the brokers, the pros, who they were and how much they took in it. And I would record all this stuff, and you would see who was back. Bob Rose was in here with a pretty substantial position in 2011.
Oh, so he was buddy Bob Rose. Oh,
and then of course Sheldon Inventosh was in there.
With Pine Tree and himself.
Yeah, so I guess this was a real money maker.
Ed Flood too. Ed Flood at one time. He's a serious guy, man.
Well, unfortunately, he's deceased.
Yeah, he's passed. Huh. Okay, what do you think, John?
I think this thing's a thumbs down.
Two thumbs down for me.
Refocus.
2 thumbs down for me. Okay.
They don't just walk, run.
No, I want to be fair. If Paul brings me something and doesn't look like the project of the month, flavor of the month club, and it looks like he's going to sink his teeth into it, I'll look at it always because I do like the guy's energy. Let's move on. Lorraine Copper. Lorraine Copper has only 26 million shares out, $24,000 in cash. They're a cash-rich zombie. Lately, the stock has actually been coming to life, and I'm seeing it's not just some one or two crosses. There's actually been some trading happening here lately. John, this one looks a little interesting to me.
Yeah, this one's interesting because when it popped up, that was that week of the ZIM2 conference where I spoke in Vancouver, June 14th.
Yeah.
It popped up because they picked up the Lust Dust project, which a company called Alpha Gold spent, I think, even part of the 80s, well, definitely the 90s, and like just beavering away. It was a George Watley company. It was almost like a private company, and they spent $11 million on this project in British Columbia. I think it's north of David Moore's Serengeti Quenica project. It's definitely in an area that's very fertile for mineral deposits. So this one is a carbonate replacement system. They have a resource of about 1.3 million tons of high grade, not enough to make a mine. George Watley passed away, and I guess all his heirs ended up owning Alpha Gold, which is now ALQ. And the reason the stock popped is Lorraine's going to issue 5.5 million shares to acquire this project. And I think they're turning this thing into their sort of flagship exploration project. They have 49% interest in the Lorraine project, where Tech's the other partner. They had a deal to buy it for a lot of shares, a bunch of shares.
I like the sounds of this, John. Lorraine management believes that a geological rethink of this system could demonstrate a much bigger deposit is present and plans to supplement its long-term optionality copper model with aggressive discovery exploration at Lust Dust. Seems like they're getting the reality.
Yeah, so I mean it's the Eastfield Group, and Bill Martin and Glenn Garrett, yeah. Don Sharp in the background. This is a really solid group, toiling geologists, Vancouver-based. They've managed to spawn through spin-outs a whole bunch of companies. Some of them have been absorbed. They very rarely get any real support from the brokerage industry. They do not really know how to promote.
They're real rock guys. If you ever run into them in Vancouver and someone says, "Hey, can you spot a mining guy?" If those guys are walking down the street, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, their office is even in this. I think it's a heritage building at the foot of Granville.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, these guys do not spend money on BS. Exactly. They're like the anti-lifestyle people.
They're rock guys to the core.
And I don't know how they actually make a living, because they don't suck big salaries out of these companies. They have hardly done any rollbacks. This one did a 2-for-1 rollback not too long ago.
Well, they only got 26 million shares out, John. That's nice and tight these days.
So the story with Lorraine Jajai, I mean, this was something I covered back in the days when Lysander had. In fact, I think Lorraine is probably I don't know, some rolled back version of Lysander. Don Mustard was always very keen on that project. So this one intrigues me a lot. Not much stock out. That's now probably 32 million with the Lust Dust paper.
But now they got a deal. Now they got something to put into this. Hey, John, this one's simple.
Yeah, this one's a rescue target.
Hey, it has to be.
Yeah.
They're home. They got a project. They are good. They're solid rock people. These guys are the classic one that you and I should be looking at. And oh, by the way, later in the show, one of our zombies has advanced to now a official pick in my reports. But this is these are the kinds that are what we should be looking to save.
That's
Oh,
right.
2 thumbs up.
Yep.
Perfect. Lorraine Copper, LLC on the Venture Exchange. I'd do your homework on this one right away, folks. This is easily a real deal to me. Not a lot of stock out, real rock guys. All they need is some help to get the story out. I'm going to do more homework on this one. I like it a lot, John.
Yeah, what I like about their model is they've got this 40% in the OK porphyry deposit and the 49% in Lorraine, and these are sort of optionality copper plays. Lorraine probably can be rethought with new exploration, but the Lust Dust is a juicy system that if these guys are right that it had the wrong interpretation by the past geos and can come up with a good story, then you have a discovery play on your hand. And
Exactly.
something like this, when you have the copper optionality in the background as something to fall back on, if the exploration play doesn't work out. I like stories like this. I like to have my cake and eat it too. I'm always looking for hedge type structures in these juniors where I don't get hit in the head with a baseball bat if the first pitch doesn't work out.
Perfect. You're a thumbs up too, I sound like, John.
Yeah.
Perfect. So we're both on board with Lorraine Copper as a save that one. The final one is Lucky Minerals, and that's good, John, because I got about another 10, 11 minutes before I got to scram. So let's get through this one quickly because we got a few other things to talk about. Lucky Minerals, 66 million shares out, $186,000 in cash, real patchy trader. They've got 100% of this emigrant project in Montana, a gold, copper, moly project. Anything to like here, John?
It looks like it doesn't trade. Insiders don't own any stock. So you'd think, okay, this is an orphan. Since coming public in 2009, volume's been very sketchy. It's bumped up and down around. Sonny Janda, I think, is the son of, or some sort of relative of Lucky Janda of the Janda Real Estate Group. And it kind of makes sense since it's called Lucky Minerals.
Okay.
So far, nobody's been pretty lucky with this one. This is like Unlucky Minerals. And they've got this project in Montana. They're supposed to make these annual payments, but they got a deferral on that because it sounds like there's some permitting issues. Looks like they got in trouble with the Securities Commission about failing to file something like that. This is probably a shell where there's lots of hidden paper somewhere. I don't like these companies where I don't see the skin in the game from, by the people behind it. When the CEO owns nothing, I don't care for these companies, even if they end up doing something. So I'm a thumbs down on this one.
Perfect. Me too. Now let's go to something that we want. Another segment that we want to do now is I want to go back. I'll get to the right screen here, John. And we're going to go back and we're going to look at some of the past yeses. If I figure out where I'm supposed to.
So if the way I've designed my search engine is the page where you have all your selections made. When you hit submit search, it spawns a new window. So you can go to the results. And when you tire of looking at them, you can go back and tweak all your results, change them a bit, make it narrower or make it bigger. Or if you want to start fresh, there's a little button at the bottom called clear all parameters. And that resets everything to
so what I've done here, John, is I've now gone back to the first page. I went up to the research tools section. I hit the search engine. This page comes up and I scroll down to the bottom and John has done our work for us. Boom. Zombie search and rescue targets. Submit search. And there they all are. Adamara, Finley, First Point, Fjordland, Parku, Thor. These are the ones that have made it from the first 2 shows. John, I really want to go through these a little quicker than we had earlier planned. Was there some quick stuff you wanted to say on any of them? I think Adamara was one.
Adamara might be a buying opportunity now. They had some 6 cents warrants. They repriced about 6.6 million. If the stock traded over 8 cents, it got triggered. So all of a sudden, these people have been told July 20th, exercise your 6 cent warrants or or have them die. So the stock's under temporary pressure. Mark has got money from several private placements that were dilutionary. They're not free trading for another 3 months or so. So this thing could start flowing news out of Washington. So I think this one's a little bit of an opportunity. On Finlay Minerals, I did talk to them after after our last episode, and it is interesting. It is a group of sort of old timers. The CEO is busy with a full-time job somewhere else, so I think this is still worth rescuing. But they definitely need to get some new blood into the company to push this project forward. First point. Look, Alan, I think our episode helped it a bit.
Look at that. This was the was this the nickel zombie I called it in the show? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, this nickel one.
Yeah, this one wasn't supposed to be on it because it's a full-fledged spec value hunter recommendation. They have fixed that working capital problem through financing. I talked to Martin Turen today about, why is this thing up? And he says, well, there's really no special reason, but on July 4th, Bloomberg published an article about nickel, and it talked about the Philippines, which is now the dominant supplier of nickel. And apparently this new guy, the Punisher, what's his name, Duterte, the new president of the Philippines.
I've
heard
the
mines minister who is very hostile towards the way the Filipinos mine these laterite deposits that are the source of the nickel pig iron that the Chinese process. So I have a feeling that if like we've got people now treating First Point as an optionality, this company is actually like Rick Rule's idea of don't spend money on everything, just preserve the asset and let people accumulate it, waiting for the breakout in the metal. So I'm quite pleased that the market's started to recognize that.
That's easier said than done. This one actually has real projects. You've done your homework on this one. It isn't just a throw that optionality word out there. So, this is actual optionality on nickel.
So Alan, since we're running out of time,
yep.
Fiordland is actually the one I want to talk about, and I think you do too.
Perfect. Let's just move
on the other ones. Tarku, nothing new. Thor, they've resumed trading. They're acquiring that engine, that Nigerian project. Tri-Origin's still in need of rescue. And by the way, this Twyford, which probably doesn't show up on yours because you didn't untick. Oh no, it should actually show up. This what we think is a Ross Beatty shell. It's now 15-cent bid, no offer. So it's pursued itself.
We're supposed to not tell anyone.
Shell, waiting for a new Ross Beatty story. Anyways,
yeah, well, Fiordland here is very exciting to me, John, for a couple of reasons. One, we've talked about it a couple times. Actually, it's sort of the genesis of this show. We were talking a couple times after shows, and we were saying that, like, look at Fiordland. They're a zombie that could actually, and we talked about it a couple times. It's come back to life in a big way. And yesterday, I added them to my official reports as a radar. I added them as a radar screen pick. What the reasons that I added them is I think that part of the reasoning is on the geophysics. It was done on 400-meter line spacing, and we want to tighten that up. And I'm hoping that when they do, there's a possibility that Fiordland maybe lights up some of their own targets. They have more ground in the area now than Canalaska. They completely surrounded them. Canalaska has been gaining attention. It's actually reminiscent of some of the other past diamond rushes that have happened. And we've seen that in the Canalaska stock. It was another one that you and I broke when it was like trading 20-some cents the day after they put the news out that they were getting into diamonds. All of a sudden, CVV has a brand new audience that's coming from the diamonds, and they still have a bunch of good uranium stuff as well. But I think the big mover has been the diamond stuff, and that's been a reason why Fiordland has come back to life. They went in and grabbed all that ground just before Canalaska did the deal with De Beers. Now De Beers is in there spending money, and I have a strong feeling that based on the recent round of sampling, that Mark Kolababa, who's recently come on board, and Dick can sort of sit there in the catbird seat for a while, and my subscribers, I figured they could get in on the real cheap here, and wait for things to develop on for Fiordland, and I was really glad to be able to pick them. And the big reason is, John, is they've come from our first two shows. Fiordland has now graduated to a pick for me.
Now, they still need to be rescued as a zombie. They still have that $250,000 working capital deficit. It's really critical that this company do an equity financing, maybe 10 million units at a dime, clean up the debt, get some money in there. As far as their diamond play is concerned, at this point, they should just sit back and wait for De Beers. Within a year, De Beers could have pounded a stake into the heart of this story, or it could be drilling off kimberlites that are spitting out micro diamonds, in which case that land position of Fiordland becomes extremely valuable. You note that they have that South Voisey's Bay 15% interest. This was a project that Bernie Kahlert generated, and he's part of the sort of Fiordland group, and DA was very much into that project. They need to get that thing back, redo the deal, and have that as their sort of base exploration story. And if De Beers shows that this Canalaska project is real, then the land position becomes extremely topical. So
the map I've got up there now, John, is from Fiordland, and it shows more of the story. You can see in the green, those are the claims held by Canalaska, and the reds are all the ground held by Fiordland. So as John's saying, as they do more work on this green ground, if it shows any potential of really finding something, I think you get a move on this Fiordland and CVV, John, even before they put a hole in the ground.
Well, Canalaska, if you ignore all their uranium stuff, is already sporting $100 million valuation for the diamond play. So that's pretty rich. But they have the possibility that Cameco pulls a hot hole at West MacArthur. So Canalaska is an interesting hedge. And I think Fiordland should turn itself into a hedge like that too, by raising some money, getting that South Voisey's Bay story, which is it's a nickel copper type massive sulfide story, and then just raise more money while people see if they get a free ride on the Canalaska outcome.
So out in Voisey's Bay, they're trying to taking a new look at it, eh, John?
Yeah, I mean, Commander, they optioned it from Commander, and it's turning itself into a prospect generator farm out company. I think that's also a very interesting potential zombie rescue thing, and probably doesn't qualify as a zombie because they just made a bunch of money on Aston Bay, flipping that project to them. But that project, that one, I think that South Voisey's Bay thing deserves to be revisited. So
okay, well, that's a good update for Fiordland, John. I got to wrap it up here in a couple minutes. There was some big news by Peregrine Diamonds. John and I are both avid diamond guys, and John, I know I can't put you on the spot too much because you have to put a report together for your subscribers. By the way, this is another reason why I think it's in the many times I've recommended people check out John and be a subscriber. John does an extremely thorough analysis, and he's got to do that for his subscribers. Was there any quick takeaways we can get from it, John?
Well,
the news?
They published a positive PEA with $470 million after-tax NPA at 7.5% and 29.8% IRR for a 10-year mine life, 2,000 tons per day. A lot of the cost assumptions were similar to what I did in my outcome visualization. The numbers they've published are not sufficient to really model it, to see what's all going on. So we have to wait for the technical report. But I think the important thing is now the institutions have something that they can sink their teeth into. When it was just pipes with grade and some carat values, it wasn't strong enough. Now Robert and Eric Freeland can go back to the institutional audience and says, here are our numbers. We know there's more there. We know this thing is going to be a long-lived diamond camp. We've scouted it all out. We need to take this to the next level. And we saw that today. Stock traded to 30 cents as now new money comes in. So I'm optimistic this is going to go to 40, 60 cents and rotate out of being sort of a retail investor story. And it's possible that something like this could be of interest to Dominion Diamond to absorb and fast track. So I would certainly not be a seller on this news. This
well,
news.
actually, John, I'm going to tip my hand a little bit. I'm in the late stages of doing my homework on the deal because of the stuff I've seen in your charts. And the other thing is that the last sort of piece of homework that I need to do is this Tuesday they're having a conference call that I'm going to be on at 8 a.m. Pacific time on Tuesday the 12th. And on that note, I think that's a good way to wrap things off, John. By then, you'll have your report out. I'll be able to do the last of my homework on Tuesday, and then we can we'll have a chance to you'll have a chance to put your report out on them, and we can circle back and talk about it more fully. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
Awesome, John. On that note, I'm gonna wrap things up again. John, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been an awesome show as usual, John.
Yep, episode 3 done.
Episode 3 is done, and I've now got your website up on the screen there, John. This is where you go, kaiserresearch.com. Sign up. It's a great service. On that note, I'm going to wrap.
Just in saying closing here, you see how the index is spiking up? The last week has been a shift in the market. We've gone from worrying that the summer doldrums will kill us to thinking we're going to roar right through the summer. So I think things are looking very good for the juniors.
Yeah, and that's going to put your picks that you've talked about on shows, these zombie shows, it's going to put a much better light on it. So I'm really pumped up about where we're going forward from here, John.
All right.
On that note, everybody, before closing, I want to say it's important for you to do your homework and speak with your financial advisors before making any investment decisions. This show is for information purposes only. And I want to thank my guest, John Kaiser, for coming on board. He always does a great job, and I think just a wealth of information. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Alan.
And to my sponsors that make this possible for me to put shows together, and for you, the viewers, thanks a lot for tuning in and enjoying the show. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.